Hello there, welcome back to Das Lab. Okay, what do we got today? Something, I don't know where this is going to go. I've obviously started working on this Kenwood amplifier. Two problems I had with it. I thought I had a noisy pot, and also everything in the remote works except for the volume, and it's intermittent, and I don't know if it's a bad remote or if it's something going on in here. So I can turn it on. All the buttons work except for the volume, and the up and down are intermittent. So it is a motor driven device up here, and it's hit and miss, and I can't figure out if it's the remote or not. So I'm going to start off with the remote. We're going to hook it up to the scope and take a look at the output and see if we can get a good signal. Make sure that it's doing what it should be doing, and cross the LED. So one of the neat things that you can do to see, hey, is the remote even working at all, is a little trick here. You probably know this if you're watching this channel. Pretty clever, but I don't know. I can't see that. Can you? Oh, you can't see it. Yeah, it does show up in this camera too. Your eye cannot register anything coming out of there, but your oh, look at that. There isn't anything coming out. It is the remote. All the other buttons work. Volume up and volume down are intermittent. Press hard and it works. It's the remote. Wow. So there's a little trick if you ever want to know if your remote works or not. Get your phone camera out. So if I take this, and because you don't always have your YouTube camera with you, and if you go into pictures, turn your camera on, and you want to see if you want to see if the remote's working. Okay, you just shine that in there. And you'll be able to see it doesn't seem to be working at all, does it? I think you can see a little bit of flashing there. See it flash? So the deal is that this camera and this camera pick up things beyond the visible light spectrum, and they down convert it. So that's how you can get such good camera work off of this teeny tiny little lens. A lot of photography has to do with how much light is getting into it. So this takes the whole spectrum. This is infrared light, and so if you shine it on there, you can see that in fact we are getting some flashing there. Okay, but I saw that it wasn't always working on the up and down volume keys, so I am going to go in and clean them up. Okay, good. Wow, that's a nice little deal there. So, this is an oldie. This is an oldie. This I bought this when I first moved away from home, and I'm gonna say that it is 32 years old. So that would put it late 80s, early 90s. Long before these things were even invented. So there we go. Oh, look, there's some sort of goo in there. Some sort of goo that should not be there. And we're going to gently, not much to it, folks. Not much to it. Whoops. Oh, where'd that fly? Oh, I'll be back in a second. Okay, I found it. Squeak. Oil it. So part of the reason why I didn't think that it was the remote is because I had been in here before and did it, and every other button on the remote seems to work very fine without having to do the big gorilla smush on it. So I'm just cleaning this up with a little bit of isopropyl. I know there's no circuitry on that side, but it's still stuff there that shouldn't be there. And if I look on this side, the two buttons in question are these guys down here. Sorry. These two bad boys down here. Yeah. So we're cleaning them with isopropyl, and they are dirty. So what happens is they get oxidized, a little bit of oxidization. You got to be careful. You don't want to rub the pads right off. Okay, and then what actually short circuits and makes the circuit is this over here. So that should be clean. And I do believe that I'm actually going to I was going to say I was going to deox it, as you know I'm fond of, but I'm actually thinking I'm not going to deox it because I don't know how it's going to react with that rubber. Or whatever that is. So that is going to go like that. Back in there, and that goes like a lot. I don't know if, what that shmoo is on there. I think that it's old, but it doesn't mean that there should be any sort of goop in there, unwanted goop. Well, maybe we get lucky this time. So what had happened is I didn't do a video on it, but I found literally on the side of the road another pair of Stereo and Vega speakers, and that works. Up. Oh my God! It works like it works like a charm. For years I've been suffering with this. I've had this part before. I don't know why it's working now, but... Alright, so that's one problem solved. Volume pot working. Happy about that. So, I was going to get the scope on there and see if I was getting a signal out of the LED, but the camera deal did show me that I was not getting a good signal when I came out of there. And we could look at what the signal looks like, modulated pulse width and whatnot for all these different arrays, and there's a sensor in here that takes it and interprets it as saying, hey, you're pushing this button, pushing that button, and go out and do this action. That's not what this is about. So I either thought it was this or a bad connector. And just to show you what goes on here, there is a little motor. Sorry, give you the strap. There is a motor on the potentiometer here for the volume pot. So that's how it drives it. The other thing I thought of, because everything else was working, I thought maybe there was a belt. The motor was off to the side driving a belt, and maybe the belt was either slipping or broken, being it's 30 years old, but it's direct drive. Okay, I'll hook it up and we'll see if we're getting any of the weird crackling sound that I was hearing when I had it hooked up to the other Stereo and Vegas that I found. See you in a minute. Okay. Down and pushes the crimps the connector onto it, and some of the pins in there were bent, so maybe I had issues with that. Anyways, it's working. I got volume, and that's one way, I guess. The lesson here is check your remote and make sure that all the buttons are working, even though everything on here worked except for these two. And I could tell by looking into the camera and seeing that, hey, they weren't working. And it had me fooled to think that the problem was in here, in either the reception of that modulated signal or the connector onto the motor here. But I was wrong. It even happens in DASLab. That's all I got for you today. I'm happy. I'm going to go hook this back up and listen to some tunes. And I want you to have fun, be safe, and for God's sakes, don't get any on you. If you like what you see, subscribe down there in the nether regions. All right, thanks.